kept this lesson slowly, the way most painful truths arrive, not as a single shock, but as a quiet accumulation of moments that refuse to disappear. From the outside, his marriage looked healed. Friends said he was strong. Family said he was wise. Even strangers, seeing him and Amaka together at events, would never guess that their home had once almost collapsed under betrayal. What no one saw was that the affair had ended, but the money had not. And money, Daniel would soon learn, leaves deeper fingerprints than infidelity. Daniel and Amaka lived in a modern African city where ambition was loud and failure was expensive. Their apartment sat on the 9th floor of a new high-rise, the kind with a security gate that beeped softly and a generator that hummed like a second heartbeat. It was not luxury, but it demanded consistency. Rent on time, service charges, fuel contributions. Daniel worked in IT support at a mid-sized company. His salary was reliable but thin, already stretched by transport, family obligations, and the unspoken pressure to look successful. Amaka ran an online fashion business. Some months she did well, other months she barely broke even. In a city that rewarded visibility, her business lived on trends, timing, and luck. At first, they managed. Love covered gaps. Patience explained delays. But as expenses rose and income staggered, conversations about money became shorter and sharper. They stopped dreaming aloud. They started calculating silently. In the city, silence around money is often mistaken for maturity. It is not. It is usually fear wearing good manners. When Amaka's business hit a serious downturn, survival became urgent. Suppliers demanded payment. Customers delayed transfers. Rent reminders became less polite. Daniel tried to help, but there was only so much his salary could stretch. That was when Amaka met Victor, a well-connected man who admired her designs and understood her desperation. He offered help without paperwork, without pressure, without timelines. At least, that was how it began. Victor paid for fabric. He covered a month of rent. He sent money when Amaka panicked. Slowly, conversations extended beyond business. Attention replaced reassurance. Dependence blurred into intimacy. Amaka told herself it was temporary, that she would stop once things stabilized. In the city, many compromises begin as survival strategies. Few end that way. Daniel sensed the shift before he knew the truth. Amaka laughed less at home. Her phone never left her side. Dinners grew quiet. When he finally saw the messages, the pain was sharp but brief. The affair hurt, yes, but what hurt more was how easily it explained everything that had confused him for months. He confronted her. She cried. She apologized. She begged. And Daniel forgave her. Forgiveness came naturally to him. Society had trained him well. Men were taught to absorb shame quietly, to fix problems without asking who caused them, to protect the image of the home even when the foundation cracked. Family members praised his maturity. Friends warned him not to lose his house over emotions. Amaka promised it was over. Everyone moved on. Everyone except the money. The payments did not stop. Rent was still cleared with suspicious ease. Groceries arrived without strain. Emergency expenses appeared magically solved. Daniel noticed, but he did not ask. Asking would mean reopening wounds. Asking would mean admitting that forgiveness had not solved everything. And so he stayed quiet. That was the beginning of the real damage. The affair had been forgiven, but financial dependence rearranged the power inside the marriage. Daniel stopped suggesting plans because he was no longer sure what he could afford. Amaka stopped explaining money because explanations invited questions she could not answer honestly. Decisions were made faster, but not together. Respect remained in words, but not in posture. In public, they looked recovered. Friends admired their resilience. Family members relaxed. No one asked how stability had returned so quickly. In the city, people rarely questioned success. They only questioned failure. Daniel felt something slipping, but he could not name it. He was no longer angry. He was something worse, unnecessary. He was a husband whose presence did not change outcomes. Bills were paid without him. Crises were solved elsewhere. He was loved, but not required. And in a society where masculinity is tied tightly to provision, that absence cut deeper than betrayal ever had. Amaka too was trapped. Dependence did not feel like freedom. It felt like borrowed air. Victor never threatened her. That made everything more complicated. Control arrived politely, disguised as help. 1 month, the payment delayed. The fridge emptied. The silence returned. Panic exposed the truth that had been hidden under convenience. Their lifestyle was not rebuilt, it was rented. That night, Daniel understood something clearly for the first time. He had forgiven the affair because it was an event. Dependence was a system, and systems do not apologize. When he finally spoke, it was not with anger, it was with exhaustion. He told Amaka that he could forgive betrayal, but he could not forgive a marriage that survived on invisible support. He said dignity mattered more than comfort. He said love could survive struggle, but not quiet ownership by outsiders. Amaka cried because she understood. Dependence had stolen her voice too. They talked honestly for the first time in months. Not about feelings, but about numbers. Not about love, but about power. They made a decision that scared them both. They downsized. They cut all hidden support. They chose discomfort over control. The apartment went. The lifestyle shrank. Arguments did not disappear, but they changed. Life became harder, but something else returned: equality. Months passed. Amaka rebuilt slowly. Daniel supported without resentment. They were poorer, but present. Trust returned, not because the past was forgotten, but because nothing else was hidden. They learned that many marriages survive cheating, but fewer survive financial imbalance. They learned that forgiveness is emotional, but independence is structural. In the city, love is tested daily, not by romance, but by survival systems. Daniel and Amaka's story was not unique. It was simply honest. The affair had been forgiven. The financial dependence was not.